you want to take roll?
Commissioner Adaro.
Here.
Commissioner Kasher.
Here.
Commissioner Wasserman. Commissioner Wynn.
Here.
Chair Remke.
Here. Thank you. Okay, good morning. We're going to get started. And I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into public comment. And before we see if there's any, I just want to remind everyone that comments should be limited to 3 minutes per person, just so we can stay on track this session. Okay, any public comment on a matter not on the calendar? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 2, which is the approval of the August 2006 commission hearing minutes. Commissioners, any comments, corrections, questions? Is there a motion?
I move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Commissioner Adaro.
Yes.
Commissioner Kasher.
Yes.
Commissioner Wynn.
Yes.
Chair Remke.
Yes.
This motion passes.
Okay, right on to the consent calendar. That's items 3 through 16. Do the commissioners have any items they'd like to remove from consent due to a conflict or otherwise? And again, that's not just to be asking questions.
Yes. 3 and 4.
Okay, items 3 and 4 are removed. Any other items that need to be removed? Okay, so as for the remaining items 5 through 16, any questions? Is there any public comment on items 5 through 16? Okay, seeing none. Oh, do you have a comment on 5 through 16? Okay, thank you. Is there a motion?
I move approval of the consent calendar items 5 through 16.
Second.
Commissioner Adaro.
Yes.
Commissioner Kasher.
Yes.
Commissioner Wynn.
Yes.
Chair Remke.
Yes.
This motion passes.
Okay, then we'll take the 2 remaining items one at a time, starting with item 3, Tina Baco Del Rio. And just as a reminder, procedurally, this is the 3rd time this matter has been on the calendar. Last month, a settlement was presented, the same settlement that's presented in this agenda, and it resulted in a 2-2 vote, meaning no action, so it's brought back. I'll start with any questions or comments from the commissioners, knowing that this was heavily discussed at the last meeting.
Yes.
Commissioner Kasher?
So I was not in attendance at the last meeting. I was in attendance at the July meeting when this matter was first brought to the attention of the commission, and I'm familiar with the direction that was provided to staff at that time. I did review the meeting online in the video of the meeting from August, and appreciate the discussion that took place. I thought there was a lot of very useful information discussed, policy and otherwise. I am in favor of the settlement as proposed by staff for a number of different reasons. I think for the purpose of settlement, there's the acknowledgement of fault that was extremely important. I feel that the fine imposed is significant, and it's punitive, and it's going to serve as a deterrent, as some of the intentions that it's large in comparison to a lot of the fines that I've seen before the commission. I also feel like returning back to the default stage at this point, I think procedurally doesn't make a lot of sense, and would be not the best use of staff resources. And frankly, as it relates to the discussion regarding the reduction of counts, I think in this particular case, in reviewing the counts that were reduced, in my opinion, I feel the counts that were reduced were appropriate here, given the facts of this case. And I think that the discussion of whether or not to reduce counts is a useful discussion. I think it's something that we can have on a case-by-case basis. But looking at the facts of this case in particular, in my opinion, I felt like the reduction of the counts that were reduced were appropriate. And then my final comment relates to staff and staff's work on this particular case. I represent a lot of public agencies in the other hat that I wear, and I'm familiar with the process of negotiating settlements on behalf of public agencies. And there's a lot of work that goes in, especially in cases that go on for years. And there's also a lot that's discussed in settlement negotiations that, although you're doing so on behalf of a public agency, they're protected under a mediation privilege, or they're things that are just to advance the settlement that don't necessarily get brought out in the public. And I know that that's frustrating for members of the public who aren't privy to that information, but there's a policy embedded in the statutory law that provides the mediation privilege that encourages settlement, which in fact helps reduce the amount of resources that are being spent for public agencies, and that's really the purpose behind it. So I don't want to, in directing staff, in any way narrow or constrain or confine their ability to exercise their judgment and really affect the best settlement that they believe possible. I want them to have as many tools in its toolkit as possible to settle cases on our behalf. I trust that staff does so with the best interests of the state of California and all of the communities in which are impacted by these particular actions involved. And I want staff to have that discretion. And I think it's important for us as commissioners to then discuss these matters on a case-by-case basis, as we did in this particular case, and then arrive at a decision. So that is very long-winded, but I apologize for missing the last meeting. But those are my thoughts at this time.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner Odero.
So I have made my point regarding reduction of counts, and it does not need to be repeated. I have not changed my mind on that, but the record is what it is from the last meeting. The only thing I would add to the discussion today is some information that I obtained, and perhaps I should have obtained it before the last meeting, but I didn't, which was to review the history of Ms. Baca del Rio and her prior abuses and her prior stipulation. And I just want to put on the record that I think that it just historically she had 7 counts of not reporting contributions, not reporting expenditures, not paying annual fees. So, well, actually, not paying annual fees was just this time around. My correction, and I believe that is a stronger aggravating factor for this time around. And because what was stunning to me was that the last violation that she committed, which was part of that very first stipulation, was in November of 2010. And the next violation that she committed was in August of 2011. And I don't understand how that can happen without some level of just intent to disregard. But anyway, I looked at the history. I feel even more strongly that the negotiated amount is not enough. But we'll just take a vote. I sense from the earlier votes that I will be outvoted this time around, and that's fine, but I'll cast my vote.
Any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Any public comment on the Tina Baca del Rio matter? Yes, sir. Just come up to the podium, please.
Good morning. My name is Richard Hernandez. I live in the City of Commerce. Ms. Baca del Rio is one of our council people. You said public going through frustration, and you're absolutely correct by making that statement. Because at the time, we were unaware about the stipulation that was being agreed on with Ms. Del Rio. So that leaves us in the dark. And there's a word called transparency. It's something that we don't have. I don't understand the process. But then again, you're going to have to excuse my ignorance. I don't know too much about it to begin with. But a $15,000 fine. This woman has 11 years of experience in a civil servant. And I can't understand how that could be overlooked. It doesn't make any sense to me. $15,000 seems unjust. It's 40,000 remaining. She's going to have fundraisers. She's going to have campaign money to pay that off. But in reality, is that really fair? I had said when I came over here the last time that she's setting an example. And the perfect example is that the mayor, Mr. Ivan, I can't pronounce his last name correctly, he's been here. And he's been given a stipulation also. Where is it just? I don't understand that. I don't want to annihilate the woman, but I think that you should make an example of her case. You should be a lot more firm to all these council people that feel that, well, I'll give you a good example. I'd seen Ivan at one of the council meetings. He shook my hand and he commended me for coming out here and being here. The reality is, I came out here to actually see that he was allowed a stipulation also. So now I can understand why it is he shook my hand and commended me. It was like saying, I'm going to get away with it too. I'm going to get a reduced fine, and it's okay. I don't know if that's a standard procedure here, but I honestly feel it's totally unfair to the residents of Commerce. You talked about Miss Del Rio being unsophisticated. She's an intelligent woman, but she has all of you fooled. She's tactful, she's diplomatic, and she's a very good speaker. She's very good at articulating her words. And I honestly believe that she does have you fooled, but I'm asking you to be a lot more firm. Make this case an example, not just for the members in Congress, but in all the other cities in California. Show them that you're not going to show any type of tolerance for their violations. I think we have very poor representation over there in the city of Commerce, and it's mockery to us. They're laughing at us, the residents. Even though some of us are out here, I don't think it's a strong enough fine. And to be able to get the other 40,000 by fundraising and campaign money is absolutely unjust. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? And perhaps you can limit it to the Tina Baca del Rio matter.
Dear Madam Chair and Honorable Commissioners, my name is Charles Calderon. I'm a resident of the City of Commerce. I drove over 7 hours and approximately 400 miles from the City of Commerce, along with two of my friends who are Commerce residents, came today because we wanted to urge you to please reject this the tentative agreement and to move forward with a default decision in the matter of Tina Baca del Rio. We are disappointed the Commission is considering telling the public that there are not as many violations as they actually were. In fact, there are not as there actually were. In fact, there are more than 12 violations, and the public and the City of Commerce have a right to know the truth. Tina Baca del Rio has repeatedly abused her position on the Commerce City Council. We believe Tina Baca del Rio has voted in contrast against the interests of the people of Commerce. This is why concerned residents of Commerce today are gathering hundreds of signatures to petition the LA District Attorney, the Honorable Jackie Lacey, to investigate and file criminal charges against Tina Baca del Rio for her continuous campaign violations, abuse of power, and improper illicit behavior. City of Commerce residents are continuously plagued with negative newspaper articles written about Tina Baca del Rio and our corrupted politicians. Just 1 week ago, Thursday, September 9th, the LA Times newspaper again wrote a damaging story on City of Commerce. We're now compared, City of Commerce is now compared with the City of Bell and Vernon. We are also disappointed the commission is proposing reducing Baco del Rio's fine from over 100,000 to only 55,000. We do not understand why the commission is considering such action when this is the second time Tino Baco del Rio has been fined by the FPPC, and apparently she has not learned her lesson. The resident of Commerce also would like to know why Tino Baco del Rio has spent over $8,000 to remodel a kitchen on a home that she does not own. Is she trying to hide her assets? In closing, we are urging the commission, we wanted to urge the commission to please reject the proposed agreement and to please move forward with a default decision. I thank the commission for your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment on this matter? Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move approval of the stipulation.
Second.
Commissioner Adaro,
No.
Commissioner Kasher,
Yes.
Commissioner Wynn,
Yes.
Chair Rumke.
Yes.
This motion passes.
Okay, thank you. And thank you again to public comments for coming here to share their thoughts. Moving on to item number 4. Do the commissioners have any questions or comments regarding item number 4?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I really just need a little bit of clarification on how how we went from the what I understand to be a certain number of counts to to less counts again. And I'm really focusing just on the 24-hour report. So it seems like there are 12 instances, 12 reports, totaling $17,000 that were filed late. And those 12 instances, those 12 reports were reduced to 12 counts. And I'm just wondering if you could just explain, how did you group them, on what basis? Like, because I tried to make sense of, is it just per month? But it wasn't, because there were 3 months involved. I'm trying to understand how you group these.
Sure, certainly. Galena West, Chief of Enforcement. So for the 24-hour reports, the thing that is similar in all these cases is the law change. So the legislation passed to extend it from 16 days to 90 days, September 24th, 2012. The regulation passed the commission at the December 2012 meeting, and it went into effect 30 days later, which is January 2013, which if you look at the chart, that's when these reports were first due, January 13, 2013. Yes. So generally when a law first goes into effect, we try to have a little bit of mercy, so to speak, on people trying to learn the law. And as Mr. Altamirano said, that he wasn't aware because their contribution limit also increased at the same time. So there was no way for him to know the law previously, and then that it had changed. So we take that in consideration. And then for grouping, this case is a little bit different. Generally, we group by month or by large amounts. So if you had, say, these are all $1,000, which just met the threshold. But if one was $30,000, it wouldn't get grouped. Generally, for 24-hour reporting, we're looking for the ones that are larger in amount. We look for the similar time periods. And then I also particularly look for the ones in the last 16 days, because the last 16 days is still the time that has no disclosure, because that's the time from your last pre-election that you filed to the election. So for me, those are more important because those are the ones that aren't getting disclosed anywhere. So if it's disclosed on your pre-elections, we take that into consideration for the grouping as well. So this one, we grouped all of January together, and then February has the March included, because those were the $1,000 stragglers, and that's why it wasn't grouped into another account, because of the size of Mr. Altamirano's campaign. that if we added another count on in this case, then it becomes quite a large amount of money that is in, I think his campaign was entirely $35,000. And so once you start getting up above $15,000 and you're talking about, almost, you're already at almost half of what he even raised and spent for the election. So that's the considerations that went into this case in particular.
So thank you for that. That's very helpful. When I compare the groupings of Altamiro to Baca del Rio, I don't find what you're saying in Baca del Rio. So Baca del Rio had a count just for March, which had 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's right.
Right. Hers does
Yeah.
have a March 4th that is done separately. And this is consideration that I guess I mistakenly didn't also say prior, because since she has a prior history, we impute her with more knowledge. This is within the 16-day period. She already knew about the requirements, having had a history of campaign violations, with Mr. Altamirano does not. And he has no campaign violations that previously have come to our attention and been proven. So for her, that March 4th was significant because that was within the 16-day period that I mentioned before. So we imputed her with the knowledge that she should have known about that and added an additional count because of her prior history.
Well, see, but when I read Baca del Rio, that was the only mitigating circumstance that's in the report, is that she didn't know.
Right. But we imputed her with the knowledge. So even though the law had changed, it's the same circumstance for her. But we said, listen, you've actually been prosecuted before. So even though you may not have known the particulars, we're going to throw the book at you because this is the last 16 days of the election. This is the money that should have been reported. And with Altamirano, he had more mitigation. He really didn't have a lot of exposure to the rules, and he had other issues that we wanted to make sure that we fine him the appropriate amount without going overboard.
So for Altamiro, we reduced the counts, and we significantly, much more than for Baca del Rio, reduced the penalty, right? Because Baca del Rio was only reduced to 4,000, and Altamiro was reduced. We reduced 12 instances to 2 counts and a $5,000 penalty to $2,000, whereas Baca del Rio was 14 counts to 4 counts.
Yes, but
$4,000,
which is all true, but which is actually, and we don't look at it as the reduction to 2,000. We look at it as the comps are $2,000 for that count. So that's
I'm sorry, the what?
The comparable cases that have been prosecuted before. So when we are looking at it, we look at what the comparables are, not what the maximum is. So we say, this is how we treat these cases historically. So the 24-hour reports are treated at 2,000 to 1,500 to 2,500 is generally the range. So we look at that, and then we look at mitigation and aggravation from there. And so for Altamirano, he doesn't have the same history with Ms. Baca del Rio. She does have this history that makes her not eligible for the same fine as everybody else. She has to get a higher fine because of her history.
Exactly, because she has such a horrible violation record. Okay, all right, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Any comments from the public on this matter? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion? Oh, sorry, I didn't see, sir.
My name is Richard Hernandez. I live in the city of Commerce. That's fine, taking into consideration that Mr. Ivan, I'm not going to try to mispronounce his name. That's fine that you're taking everything into consideration and giving him the benefit of the doubt. But what really upsets me is that I had spoken about Tina and the examples that she's setting to other people, and that goes for the entirety of the council where I live, where I reside. And these fines to me are unjust. And it's not a question that I want you to pull every cent that they have in their account. That's not the question. It's justice. It's making them stand for the things that they've done wrong. And there's plenty of accusations out there. They have a big mistrust over there in City of Commerce with basically the majority of council members they have there, including the mayor. But I honestly don't believe this is justice. But like I said, I am ignorant of the law, and you have your procedures that I know nothing about. But to me, it's irritating. It's frustrating. City of Commerce, we want independent thinkers there, people that just don't go with the norm of things. And apparently, that isn't what we have. You call Miss Tina Del Baca unsophisticated. She is a sophisticated woman, but she knows how to deceive people very well. Ivan, sophisticated or unsophisticated, knowing what his colleague was going through, and probably knowing in the back of his mind that there's some allegations with him, you think he would know better just by the experience of knowing what everyone else is going through, just by the experience of being a public servant and hearing all the other violations from other cities that are going through. And how could it be a question that he has no knowledge or any awareness of all the things that he's actually done wrong? But like I said, by example, well, they've gotten away with this. And maybe it's a customary policy to reduce the fines. But the real thing is having everyone know that there is justice in the system, and there's no tolerance for unknowledgeable or being unknowledgeable of the law. And there should be no tolerance. These are our public officials, and they've headed in the wrong direction. And that's basically it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, there's another public comment. Go ahead.
Good morning, panel. My name is Alfonso Orozco. I'm a resident of Commerce. Well, I wasn't planning to speak, but just a comment, what I've been hearing regarding the fine. The commissioner cashier mentioned that the fine is significant and served as a deterrent. Oh, I believe that it's not correct, because she has proven to continue her practice of violations, and she becomes like the Teflon lady that doesn't matter. She's a slick politician, but she's going to continue doing what she does. And it's an insult to our humble community of commerce. You know, we just more and more are beginning to see, what she really is, and she's not a good representative for us. And we just want to make it a more of a stronger point, so that people after her, like Altimero, don't follow in the same footsteps, and other communities that follow in the same footsteps. We want to stop it as early as possible to prevent any further damage to the residents. I mean, this is not her piggy bank, and she treats it like it's her own personal checkbook. So, thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, sir. Oh, wait, one more public comment.
Go ahead.
Honorable Commissioners, I'm extremely disappointed what took place today. Going back to Ivan, he's been trained and coached by Tina Baca del Rio. To say that he doesn't know what's going on is really insulting the people from Commerce. Tina Baca del Rio has become known as a Teflon councilwoman. I have numerous newspaper articles talking about the corruption of Tina and our city council. I'd like to leave that information with you, and also the LA Times article that just was published a week ago, again describing Commerce like the city of Vernon and Bell. Thank you again.
Thank you, sir. Any additional public comment? Okay, is there a motion?
Can I just make a comment?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'd like to thank the members of the public that came forward today, and I know you're disappointed with the outcome, but you have been heard. This case seems to me fair. It is a significant penalty and a first offender. So with that, I would like to move approval of this stipulation.
I'll second.
Commissioner Adaro,
Yes.
Commissioner Kasher,
Yes.
Commissioner Wynn,
Yes.
Chair Remke.
Yes.
This motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Wright. Okay, we'll move to item 17, the regulation 18951. Is it on?
Today, staff is proposing to amend Regulation 18951, which defines when campaign funds become surplus campaign funds. Section 89519 specifies that when campaign funds controlled by a candidate or elected officer become surplus, thereby limiting the use of the funds to specified purposes. This section was amended in 2014 by AB 800 to change those dates. And so now it provides that campaign funds of elected officials who leave office and candidates that have been defeated in an election become surplus funds on the later of the 90th day after leaving office or the 90th day following the end of the post-election reporting period following their defeat. This proposed amendment conforms those dates to the dates in section 89519A. In addition, the proposed amendment lengthens the time after a candidate's death before the campaign funds become surplus. Currently, when a candidate dies while in office or while running for office, his or her campaign funds become surplus on the earlier of June 30th or December 31 following the candidate's death. The proposed amendment changes this to the 90th day after the end of the post-election reporting period following the candidate's death. With that, staff requests adoption of the amendment of Regulation 18951 as submitted.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the commissioners? Any public comment on item 17? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion?
I move approval of the amendments as proposed.
Second.
Commissioner Adaro,
Yes.
Commissioner Kasher,
Yes.
Commissioner Wynn,
Yes.
Chair Remke.
Yes.
This motion passes.
Thank you, Val. Okay, item 18 is a legislative update, and I think it's pretty well explained in the report. Bill?
Yes, Commissioners, good morning. Philip Ong, Legislative Director. This is my first report where I'm essentially say as submitted. Nothing has changed since the report has come out.
Okay, any questions or comments from the commissioners on the report? All right, thank you. It'll be submitted. Okay, and then last we have the staff reports from Enforcement, Legal, and External Affairs. Again, any questions or comments from the commissioners on the reports? Okay, they will be submitted as well, and I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Commissioner Adaro,
Yes.
Commissioner Kasher,
Yes.
Commissioner Wynn,
Yes.
Chair Remke.
Yes, thank you, everyone.